Hi everybody, thank you for joining Binford Chronicles. I went to an event this weekend and I wanted to share with you a beautiful palm card that I got in regards to Amendment 4. And it really is an eye-opener. I wanted to share this with you. Amendment 4 is the amendment to limit government interference with abortion. This is a deceptive title, and the ballot summary is just as deceptive. So let me read to you the summary. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. So let that sink in for a minute. And I bet you just didn't catch it, right? We have no law shall prohibit, penalize, or delay or restrict abortion before viability, or when necessary to protect the patient's health. It's not defining what type of health. So that could be mental health. It could just be anxiety type of health. It could be financial health. It's really not defining it. And when it comes to law, you have to be specific. You have to define what it is you're talking about. And then it goes on to say, as determined by the patient's health care provider. Another open-ended definition, because healthcare provider, what is that? Can you tell me what it is? Is it a licensed doctor? Is it a licensed practitioner? Is it an unlicensed practitioner? Because healthcare providers come in many categories. And what Liberty Counsel did in this palm card here is they broke it down for you. No law before viability. Okay, that's the first sentence. No restrictions on abortions up to viability, because we don't know what health means. So they can say almost anything, and write it down in your folder as a health issue. Just put the word health in front of it. Only parental notification survives this summary, this bill. Not consent. As a parent, you have the right to give your consent or not consensual. This is your minor child we're talking about. Do you just drop them off at the hospital and say, hey, do what you want? I'll consent to anything you say. Guess what? That's consent. Even if you just go along with whatever they say. But this is different. What they're going to do is they're going to call you, they're going to notify you or send you a letter that says your child is having an abortion on blah, blah, blah date. And you're going to be like, well, I didn't consent to this. I haven't even talked to her about this. We haven't had a conversation. We haven't had counseling. We haven't talked about what happens during an abortion. We haven't talked about her health. We haven't talked about any of that stuff. And she's having an abortion? Who's the parent? Are you still the parent? This is a little piece, just a little piece of the chipping away at your parental rights. And they're doing it for the pro-choice people to not even notice it. They're hoping that the pro-choice people love this bill and they don't even realize that their parental rights are slowly being chipped away, even with this bill. No law after viability, right? Restrict abortion before viability. And with a healthcare provider. by the patient's healthcare provider. They can tell you that it's okay. A healthcare provider includes 58 categories of practitioners, many with no medical training. A tattoo artist, a 9/11 operator, and an orthotic fitter assistant can be considered a healthcare provider, and they're not licensed. A healthcare provider has sole authority to determine viability in this bill, and the healthcare provider is not defined. Do you want somebody that doesn't have a license to discuss these types of medical procedures with your child, your minor child, to have your child make that decision without you? Is that what you want? A healthcare provider has sole authority to override late-term abortion restrictions with this bill. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health. Did that sink in? A healthcare provider has sole authority to determine if abortion is necessary. What is a healthcare provider? Define that healthcare provider to me. Tell me that healthcare provider is not a tattoo artist, that they do have a license to do this work. That's not saying that in this bill. It's just using the term healthcare provider, but it has no restrictions. There's no detail on it. There's no specifics on it. It's not calling out a physician or a doctor. It's not saying a licensed healthcare provider or practitioner. It's open-ended. It is open-ended. And because health is undefined, it allows abortion for any reason. As you can see, it just says health. What is health? You know, we even talk about health when we talk about building our roads, the health of the economy. What is that we're defining here? It's very important when we put laws together and when laws are put together that we as citizens make sure they're not open-ended. They're not runaway bills. This could be a runaway bill that allows you to take advantage, allows you to get crazy and have infanticide, have abortions after birth. No, really, they're happening now. They're happening now. It's not, and for anyone who thinks, well, they're so minor, that's horrible to say. That's horrible to say, well, there's not a lot of them happening, because with this bill, a lot of them can happen. Okay? And we just need to make sure these bills are correct in their verbiage. And this bill, vote no on it. Vote no on Florida's Abortion Amendment 4. Amendment 4 is a deceptive bill. Do not be fooled by this bill. And Liberty Counsel put this page together. It's an extreme abortion law. It definitely is, as you can see the verbiage in this bill. And here's what else it means in the bill. No parent consent. We already discussed that. No informed consent. We discussed that. These are parental rights that this bill is stomping on. This bill is stomping on your parental rights. No reflection or waiting period. And guess when would that happen? When your child, your minor child, comes to you and tells you, I want to have an abortion. That's the time that you sit down and you talk about your options. You talk about your fears. You talk about the stress. You sit down and have a one-on-one with your parents and your child, both ways. The child has it with the parents have it with the child. And that's how decisions are made. So that's the reflection period that you're missing out on as parents. And if you had questions after speaking to your daughter and your daughter speaking to you, then you would be able to go to a doctor and have more questions answered. So that's right there, 1, 2, 3, out the door. That's part of your parental rights. That's part of being a parent. That's part of being a responsible parent, a parent that cares and loves their child. It's being stripped away. No health or safety regulations. Yeah, I didn't see any health or safety regulations being spelled out in that summary. None at all. No qualification requirements for abortions or abortion clinics. Well, obviously it says no law shall prohibit for health, and it doesn't define health. So yeah, that's absolutely true. No limit on late-term abortions. Of course not. When you have a healthcare provider who we don't even know what the specifics are on their credentials, because it doesn't specifically mention what their credentials should be to have the power of doing that, and because health is such a vast open-ended definition because they didn't define it, it could be anything, and it could happen at any time, whether it's the 7th month, the 8th month, or the 9th month. And folks, we have people in certain states that allow that. There is abortions happening at birth right here in the United States. And then there's no limit on aborting babies to harvest their organs. You know, it really is horrible to think about this, but it does happen. They harvest their organs. And hey, what would be a better child to harvest organs from but a child that has a fully developed lung at 9 months or at 8 months or at 7 months? You know, the organs are more developed at that stage. So, you know, all kinds of crazy things can happen in this world. And if you can think of it, believe me, it can happen. And when you're writing bills, that's why you want to make sure they're not open-ended, because that gives someone a license to kill. It gives them a license to do something bad with it. And this bill is a very bad bill. It's a very bad bill. And there's a lot of people, I'm pro-life, you might be pro-choice, but can we agree that abortion in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month is taking it a little too far? I think we can at least agree there. And this leaves an open-ended opportunity to do that. So for that reason, we should all agree to vote no on this bill. And except for parental notification, every law and regulation regarding abortion will be overturned by Amendment 4, the runaway abortion bill. This is the worst abortion bill that could ever hit our ballot. So please be advised. Please look this up. Please vote no on this bill. And we need every single person in Florida to just get rid of this bill. And I say, you know what? You think the safest place in a baby's life, the safest place for a baby would be the mother's womb, but it isn't. It is the most dangerous place for a baby these days, because too many people don't see that baby as a person, and that baby is a person. And we're so hypocritical, some of us. We only see that baby as a person when it's ours that we want to keep. But when it's yours and you don't want to keep it because you're afraid or you're going under stress and you don't seek the right counseling and you don't want to seek any options, you just want to get rid of it, then it's not a person. But the minute you want to start a family, it's a person. That's so hypocritical. Guys, we need to stand together and vote no on this bill 4, Amendment 4. Vote no, Amendment 4. I can't say it enough. Vote more, Amendment 4. Look at these. Look at what's going on here. We've got open-ended statements, no definitions. Read it again. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's life, as determined by the patient's health care provider. Who is that health care provider? Vote no on this bill. It is a horrible, horrible bill.